What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. My name is Sam Nang, and today we're exploring the living enlightenment with our highest potential. We're raising the collective consciousness and the vibrations of the world. I'm your host, and here we're going to dive deep into a transformative conversation with visionaries, healers, and leaders who are committed to elevating human potential, inspiring conscious living, and creating lasting change. And today's guest, Alcina Tran, is a true embodiment of this mission. She is a healer, a coach, a conscious music artist who dedicates her life to generation and global healing. As a second generation Vietnamese-Cambodian American and a child of war survivors, Alcina's journey is one of resilience and purpose. Through her coaching and healing music, she empowers others to break limiting cycles, discover the true calling, and elevate consciousness to live with unwavering confidence. In this episode, we explore the power of sound healing, the art of breaking through personal barriers, and how aligning with our true purpose allows us not only to raise our own vibration, but also the collective energy around us. So get ready to tap into your highest potential and tune in the Flow In, Flow Out conversation. And join us as we elevate the consciousness with the incredible Alcina Tran. Welcome to the show.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you
I was
for
so nervous
having
reading that
me.
intro.
Why
I
are
was
you
so nervous.
nervous?
It's my own podcast, and I was so nervous. So, like, it's a real thing. You get nervous on your own podcast. Nervousness doesn't go away.
Well, you did a phenomenal job, so thank you. Thank you for
you.
that beautiful
Welcome.
intro.
Because the first part of the show, I want to make it real formal. I want to make sure you get your credibility, all the props that you have, so you could speak on behalf. I've seen podcasts and they have guests. They're just like, "Welcome to the show." I want to make sure that
That's me.
you are dated. So tell us a little bit about your journey here. We met on Facebook. A mutual friend from our coaching community introduced us, and we just started sharing content and digging it. So you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. I know we've been wanting to do this. The plant was seeded. I'm sorry, the seed was planted, and now it is coming to full fruition. So thank you for having me on here as another fellow Khmer sister, brother.
Mhm.
I'm excited to be here.
I like this title that you. I'd never heard it. A soul sister, and I was like, oh, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. I had it's funny, like we're Cambodian Khmer American. I had a childhood friend that looked very similar to you. I'm still friends with her, but like we grew up, and you know how like Cambodian people, there's like similar people that look like each other. You can see from and relate from each other. But you did remind me of a childhood friend. But tell us a little bit about your identity journey. That's what's really what you are sharing with your message, because you're second generational Vietnamese-Cambodian American, and my niece is Vietnamese and Cambodian American, so I'll be sure to share this message and podcast with her.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry, my phone. I thought thing was on do not disturb here. Well, you know, it's my mother calling. That's why she bypassed that DND. Okay, so yes, I appreciate you calling that out, the soul sister.
Yeah.
So I want to just highlight, or just to touch on that. For me, when people ask you, "Oh, who are you?" or "What do you do?" I chose soul sister because I want people to feel that there's a connection at the soul level, and not just go straight into what I do. What I do is like one thing, but who am I? I am everyone's soul sister. So I wanted people to feel that safety when they're in my bubble, or when they're in my aura. So so soul sister. And my journey being a second generation Vietnamese-Cambodian American. Second generation, for those who don't know, meaning my parents were born in Southeast Asia, and they immigrated over here in the 80s.
That's actually very good to clarify, because I wasn't 100% sure myself. I'm in the same group. My parents were first generation, and we're second generation. Because I was like, we were first generation, but we're second generation.
You know, I always thought that I was first generation as well. Now you can get technical, say first generation American born.
Yeah.
right? And then you have people who are like 1.5ers, where they came as young children. So
I
by
think I'm a
that
1.5er, but I never lived in Southeast Asia.
were you
But
were you were you born over there and came over here at a very young age?
yeah, I was actually born in a refugee camp. I was actually born
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the Thai refugee camp. So I think I'm 1.5 then.
You're a 1.5er. Yeah. You're a 1.5er. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, there
We're
you go.
learning people now.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm second generation,
Second generation. Okay.
but then first generation American born.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I although I am Vietnamese, I have Vietnamese and Cambodian descent, descent. I'm also my grandfather was also American soldier as well.
Mhm.
So I
So
have
is your
American.
mom Vietnamese or dad Cambodian?
Great. So mom is half Vietnamese, half white.
Okay.
Dad is Khmer Krom, uh,
Okay.
Vietnamese, and a little Chinese.
Okay. What would you identify more of, Vietnamese or Cambodian?
Vietnamese.
Okay. Gotcha.
hmm
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would say Vietnamese. I claim Khmer because to honor my dad, and there's this whole dialogue that I'm discovering through social and connecting with the Khmer community. I said I didn't know if I could claim being Khmer if I didn't grow up culturally, but there has been so many supportive Cambodians who say you have Khmer blood, so
Yeah.
you are Khmer. Do not let the colonizers win. You have Khmer blood. That means you are Khmer, and
Yeah.
that has felt so reassuring. And I'm so grateful that I have been welcomed into the community, because I know also historically those who are full-blooded Cambodians, there has been a history where maybe those who are mixed have not always accepted those who were
Yeah.
mixed Cambodians.
I think that's a good discussion to have. It's like a paradigm shift where like Vietnamese, Cambodian, like we're all starting to mix together now, which and even here on the East Coast. So I'm on the East Coast and I'm a pretty big part of the Cambodian community here with my dad and everything. But I'm like 1.5 and we're all still trying to like help each other establish our roots. And there's like the Cambodian ballet. Like if you are interested, I think I've seen you some of your Instagram, you have some of the dresses and you're going to the ballet and some of the dances. If you're proud of it, if you like it, if you enjoy it, like it makes us like Cambodian people proud to see other people want to speak our language, want to eat our food and stuff. So it's like there isn't like it shouldn't be any limitation even for like culture and stuff. So I
Mm,
think for me, like when I started learning a lot about my culture, I learned a lot from my dad. Is just by going to the temple and just seeing how he interacts with people, and he's very like an open-minded, heart-centric person. I think Vietnam and Cambodia, when you start to like study like spirituality and stuff, that's part of it, right? Buddhism is not the labels, the identities and stuff. It's just something that we put together. But if you want to be Cambodian American, first generation, I think it's like it's cool. I think the stuff that you're putting out um is neat. And what have you been discovering about yourself that you want to share about like your identity?
mm. Ah, man. What do I want to share about my identity?
Yeah, because you're developing it, right?
The Cambodian side, yeah, yes. I would say growing up as a second gen, there are there are obstacles that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in a traditional household, and then when you step outside of the house, now you're in the American society, and then
Yeah,
having to navigate what does that mean being Vietnamese, being Cambodian, and then what does it mean to be American, and then having to assimilate. And I am so grateful to be both. I am grateful to be cultured. When, before, I would say back years ago, it wasn't as cool being Asian, right?
no,
Like it just wasn't as
it wasn't.
cool. you know, you got to be careful if you're bringing fish sauce to school because it smells. There's even in my college dorm rooms, I think at one point they said do not have durian or something like that. I saw that somewhere. Someone
Yeah,
had
yeah.
durian and they literally put up the sign like no durian is allowed because it smells. And I am grateful to be where I am. I'm now in my 30s and I am excited to reconnect, even if I did not grow up culturally Khmer. And now I'm in a place where that's okay. If anything, it is a blessing that I grew up Vietnamese culturally, and now I'm able to come into the Khmer community with this lens, from this lens, as someone who has done a lot of healing, as someone who understands healing, because on the Khmer side, there's a lot of stuff that I'm finding out, and I'm grateful that I have not had some of the experiences that some of the folks did, where, you know, we'll just dive in, where folks have felt betrayed by their own community, where
Mhm.
people are jaded. There's a stigma there. I've heard someone say, oh, you know, that's so Khmer, and that's not like, and it wasn't used in a good way either, meaning like it was ghetto.
Yeah.
That's what I'm discovering. And before I felt, man, I wish I grew up more culturally on the Cambodian side so that I can be able to speak the language, so that I can feel like I can fit in or relate. But now where I'm at, and mind you, I just started this journey earlier this year, literally
Okay.
just was like, hey, I want to connect. And I
Yeah.
felt like so sad, like, oh, I don't know much. But now that I am connected, I am in the community, I realized, I've been blessed to be on the journey that I have so that I can come in and provide a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
There's no, what do you call that when you have, no
Bias.
bias,
Bias. Bias.
no presumption, what is it?
Yeah.
Presumption,
Yeah.
presumptive.
I know exactly what you're
There's a
saying.
word for it. I'm not coming in with this. Yeah, like there's no baggage. I'm
Yeah.
coming into the community like I'm excited to learn,
With
and
no
I am
judgment. Yeah.
no judgment. I'm here to learn, and the community has been so accepting. Whereas there are folks who did grow up in the community and they are not happy with the
Yeah.
experiences that they've had.
It's a lot. Communities, how communities operate and how the Cambodian community operates is actually very similar because I guess my background is a lot of like psychology and how I study and how I go about things. But every community that I've been a part of, I have different friends. Like, I'm a very diverse background as well too. Like, I don't speak Khmer that well. I eat Khmer. I love Khmer culture. I love Khmer music. I love the hospitality. Like, I am Khmer blood. Like, I'll rev it, throw fake gang signs up, but like, absolutely love it, right? And I think deep down, if you love the community will give back to you. My dad's always expressed it, and it's very easy. It's like the karma effect, right? And in every community, there's ones that feel like they've been kind of wronged. Everybody or somebody's trash talking, somebody's not doing what they need to do. But and not to say it, but they're also the ones that aren't really contributing to the community. And when that
Mm,
happens, you don't get that admiration. You don't get the appreciation because we, family, we give back in each way. I always go to the temple. I try to support my brother. Brings his daughters to the dance. My dad sings. He's part of the temple. He gets a lot. We all get a lot, right? We get
mm,
respect and admiration in the community. And from the other side, I hear from other people that they don't want to be a part of the community because there's drama, there's this. But in every society, every community is very similar. You have the
mm,
goods, you have the bads. Online entrepreneurship, right? You have the goods, you have the ones that are out there doing real work and putting their heart and soul in, and then there's some that are out there to get a quick buck and scam people, right? You know, it's similar in every
Yeah.
like part of community, and like studying like community. I really like your whole series that you talked about, like healing through community. And let's talk a little bit about like healing as like second generational. And I'm sure you, during your healing process, you understand about the genocides and the war in Vietnam. I actually don't know too much about how the war in Vietnam affected the Khmer Rouge in that area. I'm not sure if you got that into like your documentary or your journey. Did you touch on that a little bit?
There is a connection, but I have not, like, there's so many
Yeah, not
stories that
really.
I've heard and so many perspectives, so I don't have like a one
Yeah, I could tell you a
story
little
to,
bit
yeah.
about from the perspective from my understanding of history.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War happened prior, and there was like a lot of like politics regarding U.S. and that, and then the Khmer. The reason why the genocide happened was because the government was very weak. You know, when you don't have a strong military government, it gets overthrown, and it was overthrown by Pol Pot. You probably know, equivalent to Hitler. Um, he wiped out 1/3 of the country, but now, so I have grandparents that were in it. I have parents. My dad. I did a podcast with my dad. I think you got a chance to see that, but he talked a little bit about his when we were actually in the refugee camp, and when we were because for 5 years that's when a lot of the destruction happened, but a lot of the rebuilding is kind of like where we're at now, and for me, some people could see healing from that as traumatic, but I think our family took it as very like, for me personally, I think it's very empowering. Like, oh, we try to get killed, like you can't kill us. Like we're coming back. You know, we're gonna establish like our culture. And for me, I'm very proud that we our music is out there. You know, artists is like you sharing your journey, and you know I'm part of it as well. I'm part of the mission. I try to bring the spiritual side to things, you know, include some Buddhism and healing that way, because I think for me personally, I think there's a lot of people that don't completely understand Buddhism, but in a way that's where I'm rewriting my story to make it
Mm.
more empowering. So some people can have their story be disempowering
Mm-hmm.
or empowering.
Yeah.
And I want to see and I want to hear like how you have been crafting your story, revolving, because you talk about Vietnam, you talk a little bit about some of that history down there. How are you
Yeah.
experiencing yourself?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Oh man. As a second generation, I was not there. I was not there for the war. I was not there for the genocide. However, the body keeps a score.
Yeah,
And that means when my parents, whatever, and my grandparents and so forth had experienced traumatic experiences, that they held in their body consciously, unconsciously. And when I came to be born, now I carry that weight in my body, and how that
yeah,
shows up in my world. Even though I have a roof over, I've always had a roof over my head, I've always had enough to eat, I've always have had all the resources needed. Why am I, and when you're on this entrepreneurial journey, it is a personal development journey on crack.
hmm that's the way.
Okay. Okay, so that means I had to face
No,
my
let's
fear.
reframe crack to cocaine,
Oh,
because cocaine is
okay, all right. It's
okay. You're
okay.
yeah,
All
high level
right.
drugs. How about that? Okay.
Okay. So I had to overcome, like, throughout my whole entire life, it's like learning, like overcoming my fear of speaking up. Why is
Yeah,
it that I had a hard time speaking up, standing up for myself, speaking up for what's right? Why was I experiencing so much fear of being seen? Why is it that my relationship with money was not so great and I lived in lack?
yeah,
These, how I take that as, these are actually self-worth issues that are not mine, but were passed down. And if I want to live a life of abundance, I want to live a life different from how my family has been living for generations, I need to show up differently. I need to overcome these fears.
Yeah.
And so for in my mind, I'm like, or just how I am processing and digesting this information and hearing the stories from my family. When my dad had to escape Vietnam on foot to go to Cambodia and then escape Cambodia to Thailand, he had to make sure he was not seen or heard. And there were times where he did get caught. And what happened? They would beat him. They would physically hurt him, right? And if my uncle wasn't there to vouch for him and say, "Oh yeah, that's my brother," he probably would have gotten killed that day, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is at one point being seen, being heard could have equated to getting killed. And worse, if you are a woman, that meant getting raped. And I know for sure there has been that in my family. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just now also learning of things about things that have happened in my family that do impact, like, even though I didn't go through it, but because I know things that have happened to specific family members, I'm like, wow, right? Like, this is where the trauma is. This has happened to someone in my family, people in my family, and that means I also carry that within me too.
Yeah.
And if I am to heal, that means just being aware of that and processing it and just recognizing, okay, wow, no wonder why I feel the way I do when I'm in certain situations, or this is why I have certain thoughts. Like, it also makes me question, why is it that I had suicidal thoughts in 5th grade?
Uh,
Like, why am I having suicidal thoughts, or it just started, just even self-harm? I have
right.
scars from having hurt myself at such a young age, but why? Where does that come from?
You're very conscious of your feelings and emotions and how things kind of like tie in to you. I've been that type of person as well too. Like, just feel like I always had these questioning thoughts. When I started doing my journey, I was like, what you just shared, I was like, you said 5 years old you started feeling
Or fifth grade,
understanding.
fifth grade.
Your
Mm-hmm.
fifth grade, yeah. Even at that young age, to me, I had that. I remember like when I was like meditating, I was like, I had these thoughts back in the day of trying to like understand why am I feeling that. And it's very like that's the consciousness that I think we all share, that some people are in tune with and some people are not in tune with, or choose
Mm-hmm.
not to be in tune with. I think you're very in tune with yourself, your identity, and I think it's I'm glad that you're sharing and you could put it out there. And I think the what caught my eye when I watched one of your videos where you were talking, like, you're very technical as well too. You have a life coaching background, and like, you're actually done the work instead of actually like, I think there's a part of social media and like motivational speakers and life coaches where it's just regurgitating kind of like quotes and not really doing the inner work. But I could tell you're doing a lot of the inner work, and I and myself, like, when you're expressing stuff, that's inner work that you've done, that inner healing.
Mm.
I think the word that you said, one of your videos, you said epigenetics, right?
Epigenetics, yeah.
Epigenetics. Can you explain that word? I've said it in
Yeah.
one of my podcasts before, but hearing from other people, because words, I think they're up for interpretation. Everybody has different interpretation of it. I think I
Mm-hmm.
want to hear yours.
Yeah. Epigenetics, so that's a difference of genes. Like, for example, when you're born, you receive, the color of your eyes from your parents, your
Hmm.
hair texture, your skin, right? So these are genes that come from your parents.
Hmm.
And epigenetics are genes that are not permanent. They actually alter, and it can be caused from traumatic events and like things that happen to a human, where if a human being experiences prolonged enough trauma, it
Yeah.
can change their DNA. and that then gets passed down to their you know,
Yeah,
their children. And so
children.
when their children experience something in their life that it triggers, you know, that DNA, they then experience an emotion as though they are going through the thing that caused that trauma in the first place. So epigenetics are just genes that have been modified. They're not permanent, and because they're not, and the good thing about that, because they're not permanent, you can actually heal and change
Yeah.
it so
Yes.
that you don't experience the trigger or that trauma, right? So yeah, that's
Yes,
how
yes.
I see it.
That's a great definition. You really thought that out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
like
fancy word. You know, I want to summarize. I spoke about it, or I wrote about it in one of my Facebook, Epigenetics, and how your thoughts, your action can affect a lot of people. Not only, I think, not only like my kids. I have two daughters, but I think it affects my dad as well too. Because I started paying attention when I started learning this word about like how you influence each other directly by just being in close vaccine or like vicinity of each
proximity.
other.
Hmm.
Yeah, proximity. It's like communities. That's how communities develop, right? You know, if you're around certain, you're gonna start to look like them because you get the same amount of sun. You might be doing very similar activities. um but then, you know, you have this life coaching involved where you bring this in, and we're talking about DNA, and DNA is interesting right now because I think there's a lot of research I've been doing myself and new research coming out that you could actually activate it. And I'm sure, you know, as you are on your spiritual healing journey, you got sound healing and the conscious music that you bring to to your coaching or to your community. How does that involved? Like maybe tell a little bit how music healed you. I'm sure it healed you, right? Or like healing you,
The journey
the
of
journey
music.
you're healing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
how you're incorporating that into your documentary, into your coaching, and how you just it because it's part of you because you're an artist and music is big part of who you are, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tell us a little
yes.
bit.
Music. I've always wanted to be a pop star since I was little. That was my dream, be a pop star.
Who inspired you?
I was in the Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera era. And
You know, I had a Facebook post saying it was really funny. It was really funny. It was like a Saturday because I do some silly stuff on Saturdays instead of just like business or like entrepreneur
yeah.
stuff. I was like Brittany or Christina, and that engagement that post just went like
Ooh.
40 comments, 40 comments.
I believe it. Yes.
Yes, yes. Sometimes you got to do that. But
Yes.
yes, Brittany,
Yes. Or Christina.
you like both.
Teasing. Teasing.
You
No,
like
so
both.
yes, both. Yes. They both are great for, they have their own unique sound and
Yeah, it's the same as
yeah.
like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. They're both pretty good.
Yes, yeah.
They got pretty good stuff out there.
Yeah. And so music, the journey itself has been healing for me because that was my childhood dream. And then adding in, okay, I grew up, I'm Asian American in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. And when I reached, the age of 18, there were moments already in my life where I was told, come back when you're ready, or sorry, sweetie, you didn't make the cut. And I asked my manager at the time, how come? And he said, well, it's not because of your voice. And I asked, well, then what is it? He said, it's because of your look. Like, what do you mean? And he said, no one wants an Asian role model. So things like that, when you are young and impressionable and someone tells you, someone who's older, someone that you respect, that admire, and they tell you things like this, I took that as my truth. I accepted it and I said, okay. Whether I was conscious of it or not, it was an unconscious choice that I made and I accepted. And because of that I had creative blockages for years.
Wow.
And it was frustrating because what did I do? I went to school and then went to college And then I got a job and another job and another job in different industries. And no matter where I went, music kept calling me. And I was so frustrated because I did not want to reach the gates of heaven. And God asked me, Alcina, what did you do with the gift of music? I don't want to say nothing.
Guys, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. My name is Sam Nang, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. It's been great to have your support, and I want to tell you a little bit more how you can support the community and how we can support you as well too. So, if you like the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, the message that we're putting out, the information, the content, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel on Spotify. Please like it. Please share it. Please share an inspiring message. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out to people that need it. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are in need of more personal development support in those areas of physical fitness, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, anything in that type of area, please book a discovery call with us. We'd love to help you. We'll get some time on the schedule to chat about what your struggles are, how we can help you, and we'd love to support you in that way. And if you are interested in being a part of being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. If you have an inspiring story, you have something that you want to share, if you have a message that resonates that's similar to what we're sharing here on the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, we welcome you to be part of our show. We're super excited where the growth and the community is growing. So we look forward to having you here, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you guys so much for the continued support and the love. And we'll continue to keep putting out the good vibrations out there to help elevate the collective vibrations. And thank you guys so much.
Yeah. And it's just frustrating because there's this thing that keeps calling you.
You spoke to God.
I wasn't doing anything with it. I didn't want to have that conversation with God. I didn't want to say, So that was when I went through corporate America, and I found coaching. I became certified. And then I went through another coaching training program, and the coach asked for a volunteer. And she said, I raised my hand. I was like, hey. And she said, Alcina, what story do you want to rewrite? And I said, my relationship with music. Yeah. Because no matter where I go, it keeps calling me. And then she took me through this exercise. I saw my inner child. I saw the future. I had a visceral response, 20 plus people on the call, and I'm crying. And she asked me, what is the message? And I said, don't give up. Don't give up. That's powerful. I took my 13-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, took her on a walk right after our class. And it was a 3-day class, 3-day weekend class. And it was our last weekend. And I took her on a walk, and I said, hey, look, I know you wanted to be a pop star. I know you wanted to make it at 18, at 20. And it's okay that you didn't, because it wasn't your time. In fact, you didn't even know who you were. And you needed to go through what you went through. You needed to go find a job to be able to relate to people, to be able to relate to how many people are not living out their dreams because they feel they have to stay at a job that they're not happy with. Like, be able to relate, be able to talk about that, be able to fall out of alignment to get back into alignment, and know that you got me now. We're going to do this together. So within 6 months of having that conversation with myself in that coaching call, I went from not having music out to having music release. I traveled to Jamaica, Boston, DC, New York to record. I invested more money than there was in my bank account because I asked God, what would it look like if I didn't let money stop me? And if music is a part of my path, I will always be protected. It doesn't matter.
Isn't that like that feeling of like protection? It's interesting. I felt that And your story you just shared, I felt it. Like you're like, it called you, right? An artist, you spoke to God. Like it's weird sometimes, like when you see rappers be like, thank God, and you really don't understand until like you start to speak with God or the universe, right? Somebody, as we all call it different, you know. But there's a force that is kind of like pulling you. As artists, we have to kind of lean in on that. It's hard. I created, and I've felt stupid at times. I felt embarrassed. I felt like, what am I doing? Right? I feel like people are looking at you. Like for me, it's like music is healing to you, and it was calling you, and you listened. But you know what?
Mhm.
What would happen in the other way if you didn't listen? It'd be more painful,
It would be
wouldn't it?
so painful, so painful. Yeah, it was just so painful.
Was
And
there ever a time where you just didn't listen, and then you're
no,
like,
I wanted to, but I was I had to heal myself to get to a place where I was able to finally surrender and answer the calling. I had to go through so much healing to get to that point. So 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 that 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, I ended up releasing new music. I came out to the world as an artist. And so
right?
it wasn't necessarily, music, like, me listening to music and healing me. It was the journey of coming back to the artist inside of me. And
Okay.
I'm like, oh man, I wish I can be that artist that makes music all the time and just make music for a living. But then I have this coaching thing that I can't ignore, that's also a channel and a gift of mine too. So for me, when I make music, it's divinely guided. Anytime I make music, anytime I push music, it's always been a calling.
Let me ask you
So
this.
yeah.
How do you know when it's divinely guided
Oh
versus
my gosh, it's like, are you sure, God? It's like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Because it's not like this documentary project. I'm like, are
Yes,
you
tell us a little
sure?
bit about that. Tell us a little bit
Oh
about,
my,
because it's a healing documentary. Where are you traveling to? And
yeah,
I'll make sure to link everything and help support as much as I can as well. I'm
thank you.
actually excited to hear. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Is that
yeah,
is that something that we can do on here? Is that like,
share it.
yeah.
I have
Do I
your
have that
website.
ability? Oh
I
no.
do. I'm
You
the.
do?
Let me share your. You have a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
How about
so it's not, so I'm gonna, okay, maybe
go
I
ahead.
can
You
share
see
with
that?
you another link. Let's
Okay.
see. Okay, so
Talk a
in the
little bit
mean,
about this project here, and then
okay, so
oh God,
oh,
that's you.
okay. That's me. Yes. I
That's
need
your
to
coaching. That's
yeah,
your
that's my
coach.
coaching. I need to update my website. Yes. So if you actually go to YouTube, or you
What?
can go there too. Yes, that too. I
There
hope
you
that
go.
the link's on there. Yes.
Did you build this all yourself?
I
Oh,
did not, but I did have some influence in like the design. But I
yeah,
want to make it so that it incorporates more of my artists. So we'll figure that out. Yeah, we'll figure
yeah.
that out.
This is
Um,
it. Right? This is the project.
yeah, if you go to, yeah, did you click on Sound of Healing or the project?
Yeah.
Oh, it's loading. It's just taking a little bit of
Hold
time.
on. I think. Let me make sure. I'm gonna stop this and then just reshare. But yeah, feel free to talk about it. I think I
Yeah.
have. Oh wow, hold on.
So this project, so there's actually two projects that I'm working on. We're working on a new music video and a documentary. In both projects, we are looking for sponsors. Okay, beautiful. So I actually don't have the track on my page. It's on under Equanimous. So if you go to Equanimous, and I can spell it out for you, Equanimous is a an
Is it with
artist,
the
Quanimous, and then type in Alcina, because he has a lot of music. He makes conscious music. Yes. Okay. So you can click on Amitabha. So the first one there.
this
So
one
that's
right
the
there?
one that we're gonna be.
Ooh, that's an Equanimous. It's a collaboration. Cool. And what instrument is this?
He did I think it was a synth on like the program.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
electronic. Cool. I didn't know that. I'm not really like, I'm kind of like, my dad's a musician and he knows how to play instruments and knows how to sing, but no one in our family is very like musicianal, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
say it, but I'm not completely like, I love music. I started listening to the handpan music. Have you heard of that?
So I would love to learn how to play that. Yes.
And then you also play the
The
Tibetan
sound
bowls,
bowls, the
the
sound
sound
bowls. Yeah,
bowls.
the
Yeah,
crystal bowls. Yeah.
yeah,
So for this track that you're about to play, so we're going to do a music video for this soon, and we're actually looking for sponsors, and so I'll send the link over. I have a team who's supporting me on this. Essentially, what happened was, and this is how this ties into the documentary. Last fall, October 7th, when it was all over the news, the war, the genocide happening in Gaza,
yeah.
it came to me. I was like, oh, I have to focus on generational healing. I have to promote generational healing. This, genocide didn't just happen. There's the Jews and the Cambodians, and now it's happening here now again. And my coach asked me, Alcina, what does generational healing sound like? And I was like, that's such a great question. What does that
That is a
sound
good
like?
question.
So my sister suggested, why don't you do a mantra? I was like, a mantra, huh? And the first mantra that came to mind was the one that I learned as a child and I still use today. Being Vietnamese and Buddhist, you hear this mantra at home or in temples, Nam
Yeah.
Mô A Di Đà Phật.
Okay.
And that's Vietnamese for Amitabha. And it's paying homage to one of the five cosmic Buddhas, Amitabha. And Amitabha is Sanskrit for infinite light, infinite life. And I had slid into Equanimous's DM and I was like, look, hey, you came into I was like, hey, I have this project. Are you, free and open to doing a project? And I actually had a dream. He actually came into my dream. And then that's what made me reach out. And I told him, look, I don't know what it's going to sound like, but you came into my dream and now we're having this phone call. Are you down? And so he said he was down. And I literally hopped on a plane. I didn't know where I was going and didn't know the address until it was like literally within 2 weeks. Hopped on a plane, got into the car rental, and then I asked him for the address. And I was driving through the woods. I didn't know where I was going. I was just like, all right, this is literally what happens whenever I'm doing music. It just takes on this journey. And we spent 3 days together and 2 days in the studio. And we created Nam Mô A Di Đà Phật and Amitabha. So Amitabha, you'll hear Nam Mô A Di Đà Phật inside of it. It promotes generational healing because you have the Vietnamese Buddhist prayer inside of it on an EDM track, which bridges the gap between generations. It bridges the gap between cultures. And how this ties into the documentary, I appreciate you asking me about like, hey, what's the instrument that's being used? This was electronic. So the documentary, it's me going to Vietnam and Cambodia to go learn what are the ancient sounds, like actual instruments that our ancestors used to create
Yeah.
music.
My dad could
And
teach.
see,
He's actually being trained by like a master. So I don't know if my dad notices that, but like he's actually being trained. Like the musician that trains him they call him master. I can't remember his name, but my dad's like 69, so he's been playing music and stuff. So my dad's on the level of like that. So he knows instruments, he knows like singing and stuff. So I mean that's cool. That's neat. That's
yes. Yeah, so now imagine taking those instruments and then incorporating it into conscious healing music. So I want
yeah.
people to go on this journey with me, go to Vietnam with me, go to Cambodia, and go on this journey because I don't know what to expect, but I know there's so many other people who are part of the diaspora who also feel disconnected. And this is a part of history that you can't just simply Google, right? Like you got to actually go and learn.
You gotta go there.
And I'm a little bit, envious of those who live in, our brothers and sisters who live in Cambodia and Vietnam because they literally grew up in the motherland and they have access to that. Whereas as a second generation, I don't know. And it's not my fault. I just don't know that part of my history. And so what do I have to do to go learn? Is go straight to
That's
the
good.
source. Go straight to
That's
the
cool.
source, document the journey, and then create healing music that incorporates these sounds into it. So
That's
that's the
cool.
documentary project. And I am looking for sponsors to help support. That would help cover for the logistics and just all of the things. But yeah, so
You got a
yeah.
team working with you and helping you get it done, or is it solo?
I have a team for the Amitabha music video, but I
Mhm.
haven't quite got the team yet for the documentary project. I've had a few conversations, and there are some conversations that I'm waiting to have. But yeah, it's divinely guided because I know that when I will meet the right people at the time I am supposed to. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you completely trust the universe that is just gonna take care of you, and the word that you used, it's like I understand is like surrender, like you trust that it's going to be yours. And I think one thing I think people sometimes get confused is if the idea is genuine, if it's divinely guided, or if it's
Mm,
from the universe.
mhm.
I think from hearing your vision of it, right? You're already telling me the vision of what it's gonna be, right? It's a vision. It hasn't even happened yet. You're talking like
It's
it's
happened
going.
in here. It's
It's
happened
happened
in
in your head.
here.
That's exactly.
Mhm.
I just did that on my Instagram, and I was talking about like, hey, even for me, like when I'm going into this entrepreneurship, this is not a 9 to 5 job. It's like this is my whole life.
It is
And
your whole life.
it is my
Yep.
whole life. And I don't think everybody completely understands
No,
it.
no.
And I think it's completely okay because I think, in that journey of yourself, discovering yourself, doing your own projects, and right, there are people that will support you. And that has been for me as well, to even helping with the podcast, right? Like you jumped on the podcast, like you like his style, you understand. Like I am a personal development coach, very similar in what we coach and teach. And envisioning and talking about it is very powerful, that it's already happened in your head.
Mhm.
And you talk about it like it's the mental universe that you're creating first, and then whatever is happening. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you
Yeah.
already talked about what you were planning to do, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna sync up. The synchronicities are gonna happen. And I think it's a very powerful thing that you shared about your project and then what it's gonna
Mhm.
be, and the people that are involved are gonna help support it. And I definitely support it. I love music. I don't know how to play music. And just like me, it's like I'm very envious of other people that know how to play music and know how to sing. But I'm also like, there's other people that might be envious of me, of like what I could do in the gym and everything. So there's that there's that part of like
Yeah.
there's that part of like growth, that we all have certain talents and certain skills and certain things that like we lean towards and we're good at. I
Yes,
I remember
yes.
one day I was like, I wanted to play instruments. I, I bought like a guitar
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and try to sing, but it's just like, I just had to be like, maybe this is not my thing.
Trust me, I would love to be able to say, "Oh yeah, I play." I mean, granted, I play healing instruments, but I wish I could play the guitar, right? And at one point, I didn't think my voice was enough, and I'm past that, and I realized actually my voice in itself is healing. It's a healing instrument. So
Yeah,
I get to help people heal through my voice, and I went through all that I went through to be able to learn that. It's like, oh, this is it. This is my lane. This is where healing and music coaching. This is it.
yeah.
This is yeah. Hmm.
I got a good question for you. So as a coach and starting to reach out to community and
Ooh.
start to bring light into healing work, how and what is the best advice for somebody that's like, I don't know, this stuff is kind of weird, because it is kind of weird, right?
Have you Googled weird yet?
Yeah, I remember you were the one that told me this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
you were
yeah.
like,
It's like,
I was like, I think I'm weird, and you were like, you are weird. I was like, I am weird.
yes. It's a great thing to be weird. It's it's weird to be normal, you know. So
Yeah.
anyways, what would
You
I
frame.
say? One thing that I have learned earlier in my life when it comes to the healing journey is honoring people where they are.
Yeah. Okay.
That
That's
is
good.
number one. That's number one. And if people are, they are either ready or they are not. They are
Yeah.
either ready for the change, the transformation, or they are not. And trust me, if I could just like be like, hey, here it is, just, just open up your eyes and open up your heart and like have people experience it, I would, but you can only help those who are ready and open to do so. Um, so that's like the first thing that comes to mind. And I was smiling and giggling as you're asking about this question because when I think about my community, and I'm trying to not trying, I don't want to use the word trying. I do not want to feel jaded or to feel upset or
Hmm.
disappointed because there's a lot of trauma in both the Vietnamese and the Cambodian communities. There's a lot. And is everyone is are there people who are open to healing? Yes. Are there people who are not? I feel like there's more people who are not open than there are, but I am also I also recognize like there's a time and place, and this is the long haul. Like
Yeah.
change is not easy. Change is painful, whether it is for better or for worse. Our brains down, biologically, our bodies do not like change. And so I can't blame people for not wanting to change. And then coming from the communities that we're from, we weren't given these tools, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of educating that we have to do. So I'm here for the long haul. When I say generational healing, I know it's not a sexy topic. I also get a sense that I'm going to be talking about this for the next however many decades, and there are going to be people who will find me in 20, 40 years and be like,
Yeah.
damn, she's been talking about this for however long. That's how I feel. Like I'll just keep talking about it, and some people it's just not going to resonate right away. But what I am hopeful of is I am calling in people who are ready. I'm calling in to connect with other light workers like yourself, because there are people in our communities who do want this, but maybe they're not sure where to start, how to start. Maybe they're still overcoming that fear of asking for help, because in our communities, asking for help means being a burden. So like
Yeah.
learning how to like navigate the old traditions and old expectations. But I'm hopeful that I'm seeing more and more people are open to it. And I think our role, our job as the light worker, as a leader, is to consistently show up so that so that we can continue planting the seed. And when people are ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And when the teacher is ready, the student will show up.
So wise. So wise, Alcina. I love it. No, the message definitely it for me it resonates, right? And I hope to share this message with other leaders, other conscious healers. I'm in a place where I've been able to connect and give back to communities through words, through healing, through videos, doing is things that I personally myself enjoy. And just like you, I've been doing this. When I look back and think about it, the more you meditate and you do your introspective work, you're like, yo, you started from a very young age. But anyway, you could start the story, right? I think we're all in part of a journey of self-discovery, personal healing, spiritual healing. It's something that I don't think it is mainstream. It's just like health and fitness is not mainstream, right? I think we
You don't
all
know? Not yet. No? Am I
not
just in my
main.
own
I don't
bubble?
think
I'm in
mainstream. I don't think mainstream, like mainstream as
Mhm.
in like, hey, like healing
Widely
is like,
accepted. Yeah.
yeah, like widely accepted. Even for me, like I live in a pretty affluent place. Like not everybody works out, not everybody eats
Mm.
healthy and stuff. So it's like that is the new, I believe, the paradigm shift, right? I think the
Mm.
word I would say is like a paradigm shift that um the pains that we have from parents, from generation to generation, it can be passed on. But as generation healers, you say light workers. I think you were the one that taught me that word, light workers, right? Or maybe I think we had a discussion about light workers and having like some certain responsibility that's deep within. And sometimes on this journey for me, it's like when I started it and looked at it, I was like, I didn't feel like I chose this path at times, but I feel like this path is like something that I must take,
Like it
sharing.
chose you. It
It
chose
chose me.
you. And are you going to answer the calling? That's the question, right? So, and you
Yeah.
are.
And for
Mm-hmm.
me, like, and just like I say, like, and I ask you, I was like, it's painful when you don't answer the calling. You don't answer that, and when you get in alignment, and you talk about alignment and centering yourself to believe in, to receive these frequencies of the message from the universe that is telling you, hey, we're putting you in the right direction, right? It is extremely scary, especially what you're saying that you did, overcoming one of the big things that I think Cambodian Americans and Vietnamese American, or anybody that's a foreign that's moved from this country, is the lack of money, right? You grow up with a lack of money. That's very important because when you become an entrepreneur, money is fuel. You have to look at things completely different. You have to look at it as like, hey, are you accomplishing the mission? And if you are accomplishing the mission, the money will be there, right? It'll generate, it'll come, when you ask and receive, like they say. But
Wait, I love that you brought that up because also having grown up poor, my definition of success was different from where it is now, right? Like I thought, oh,
money,
money is the definition of success because we didn't have much of it.
yeah,
And now it's unlearning and like unlearning the poverty mindset, the scarcity mindset, and then redefining what does success look like, because also coming from immigrant family, hard work. Oh, work hard and you make money and you'll be rich. No, that's
not
not even
always,
the case. Not always,
not
because you can work so
always.
hard and still be in that cycle. So I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of money wounds, and that's also just another opportunity to heal, and that's
Yeah,
also tied to self-worth.
yeah, and I don't think it just stays within like the Cambodian community or the Vietnamese community. And I've spoken to coach with many people. It's the mindset that sometimes scarcity, right? That we might not do that. That's what keeps us in these low vibrational states, and that keeps us from actually stepping out to do stuff that are very scary, like putting this whole documentary together and starting your whole, it's scary, right?
Yeah, like you asked me like how do you know if it's divine? I'm like, okay, because I have this feeling I want to put it on Netflix. I'm supposed to not supposed to. I would like to raise 100,000. Just even saying that aloud, I'm like, I don't know how, but we'll figure it out, okay? Like even
Hey,
this music video project, my team put it together and I saw the updated pitch deck. It's $40,000 projected cost. I thought we spoke on 25 and now I got to raise 40,000, like, well, okay. Just like, all right, let's see what we can do. Yeah.
I like you're definitely divinely guided, and appreciate your
Thank you. Yeah.
and I love it. I love the great conversation that we've had, and we're definitely here to support the journey. I'll make sure to link it.
Thank
And
you.
you know what I started doing? I wrote an outro, so I want to read it, and then yeah, don't worry, I use Chat GPT to kind of help.
Let's go.
So wow, what a powerful conversation, Alcina. I hope you're leaving this episode feeling inspired, uplifted, and ready to take in the next step in your healing journey. Remember, healing doesn't have to be grand or overwhelming process. It can start with small, intentional steps, whether it's through sound, breath, or simply becoming aware of the cycles you want to break. The power to transform your life is already within you. As Alcina shared today, we're all capable of raising our vibrations, aligning with our true selves, and contributing to the collective healing of the world. The journey begins when you make the conscious choice to step into your power and embrace the process of self discovery. So I invite you to take a moment after this episode, breathe deeply, reflect on what you resonated with, and ask yourself, what is one step I can take today toward my highest potential? Healing is a lifelong journey, but the first step can be taken right now. Thank you for joining us in the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. If Alcina messages spoke to you, be sure to connect with her on social media, and I'll link it in the show notes. Check out her healing music on all her major platforms. Together, let's continue raising the collective consciousness and vibrations one step at a time. Until next time, stay in flow and keep elevating. Let's go.
Let's go.
Feel free to say anything before we head out, and then we'll end the podcast with an.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for tuning in and everything that you said. Yes, just know that you have what it takes. You have what it takes. And if you see it in your mind's eye and you feel it in your heart, just know that it's yours. How you get there is not up to you. Surrender and just trust that as you just keep your eye on the prize, you will receive all that you will need to receive along the way.
I love it. That was so soulful. That was so Alcina Tran right there. That was genuine authenticity, Alcina Tran. I loved it. Thank you. Thank you for an amazing podcast.
Thank you.
All right.